Why I wish my poor parents never had kids. I graduated a year ago and my parents have been asking for money ever since. Not just a little, but eventually thousands. I am struggling myself. I have rent, bills, debt and a life to fund. On top of this, I would like to save and invest so I don't have to have the type of future they have where they are in their 50s and are in shitloads of debt which they now push on their children. I am so angry. I wish they never had children. I know we should never say poor people should never have kids, but I genuinely wish they never had me so I didn't have to deal with this financial burden placed on me at birth, and at least they could save the money used to raise me. I didn't need to exist. I don't know what to do. I feel so bad for them because they're struggling, but just because I am earning now doesn't mean I can give everything for them. I want to start building my life now, and I don't want to work a 9-5 forever because I can't have any savings or investments because of them. You have to tell them number, that's all there is to it. I know, much easier said than done. It took me years of therapy learning boundaries before I could finally do it, but saying no is the only way it will stop. If you keep giving in, they'll keep asking. 100% agree, having savings is not nice to have. In a lot of ways, in this world, it is essential. It's not even a lie to say you have nothing to spare them when you are being responsible for your own life. I don't know the circumstances, so this may not be accurate, but I would think that if they survived before you, they can survive after you, and they don't even have to pay for your living expenses. I would say just cut them off. Exactly. With the pandemic and very reduced hours, I have learned to live much cheaper. I don't buy things I don't need or fancy foods or go out anymore. No more credit cards. I buy basic foods that I cook. No more eating out or fast foods. I just had to teach myself to be frugal. OP's parents can do the same, especially since they don't have to take care of him now, so they actually have more money now than they did before. No parent should be asking for that kind of money. Cut them off, and don't look back. Plenty of people grow up with little money and can figure it out. Bankruptcy is a thing for a reason. Your parents may need to set that pile of debt on fire and deal with the credit ramifications. Interestingly, there was an episode on bankruptcy in the USA on last week tonight. Recently, there are literally people who can't afford to declare bankruptcy due to the cost of filing fees. I had to cut mine off. They are boomers and were given every opportunity in life. I could never figure out where the money went. My dad made over $100,000 a year. My best guess was gambling, and I later found out it went to pay for my niece and nephew's private schooling, while I was struggling to make minimum payments and had the most student loans. It was really hard, but it was for the best because I was just enabling them. Why did your parents pay to send your niece and nephew to private school? I'll bet there's a golden child in there. That is, your brother or sister who's a parent. You could make a case that the golden child owes your parents, but you don't. I come from a very white trash background. As an adult, I have a good paying middle-class job with great benefits, no credit card debt or student loan debt, and generally Spain a decent life. Compared to much of my family, I'm very well off. They all think I am poor as heck. I don't flaunt what I have on social media and no one asks me for anything. I plan on keeping it that way for this reason. I would never expect my kids to support me. I work, and if I was not earning enough, I would get a second or third job. It is ok to tell them number. You have to say no and cut it off. They accrued the debt they are in, not you, so it's up to them to pay it. BK. It doesn't matter what they did for you growing up. They chose to have a kid you didn't choose to be born. I am a mom of a 21-year-old. We have supported him through college and internship, and now he has an awesome career. He lives with his girlfriend, and I wouldn't dream of thinking I am entitled to any money he makes. Even when he lived at home when he got his job, he gave $20 a week board just to cover gas and electricity. Not a lot, but we are his parents forever, and I would never ask him for money. That's not his responsibility to give, fund my life or pay any of my debt. Tell your parents to sell off their things, downsize to something they can afford. They need financial counseling. Do not give them money. I haven't spoken to my mum for 9 years because of a situation just like this, and my life is better for it. I was raised to become an independent, self-reliant adult. My mum went through a financially and emotionally reckless period, and after the third time of trying to make her problems our problems, I said enough, done, and I'll sell a kidney on the black market before I do that to my kids. You are not required to set yourself on fire to save your parents. I don't know what their debt consists of, but if it is over and above living expenses, then that is on them. You might consider offering to help them find a course or seminar in money management so that they can figure a way to work themselves out of their own financial mess. But if you allow them to guilt you into perpetually bailing them out, history will repeat itself and you will never be allowed to build the life and future you want, as they will drag you down and drown you. You owe your parents nothing for raising you. It was their decision to have children and therefore they take on any expense incurred. I just don't understand these parents who tell their children they owe them for raising them. My husband and I raised 2 daughters and we don't expect anything back from them. They are living their own independent lives and that's our reward. As a 42-year-old mother of a 21-year-old son who is married with a child on the way, I'd like to plainly say, you don't owe your parents jack shit. You didn't ask to be here. They chose to have you. It isn't your job to get them out of debt. What I am saying may offend some people, but I really don't care. I don't expect anything from my son except love and respect. We all help each other when we can because that's what family does. But I definitely don't expect him to pay me anything for raising him. I am dirt poor and always have been, and I don't expect anyone to give me anything, most especially not my son. Why is your first instinct to wish you were never born instead of simply saying no to them? You need to step back, breath, and try to think logically. They made decisions that lead them to where they are. They chose to have you and raise you. If nothing else, they could have given you up for adoption. You are not beholden to their decisions. What? Heck yeah, we should say poor people shouldn't have kids. That's so ducked up, bringing kids into a shitty life. We don't need any more people. Normalize it being okay to not have kids, especially if you can't take care of them. Kids are a huge serious responsibility, and people need to take it seriously. Dear friend, refine what it is you wish for. You don't wish you were never born or that the poor don't reproduce. You wish they wouldn't pressure you for financial assistance that would impact you negatively. You want to help them in times of emergency but feel you can't trust their determination of what is a true emergency. The solution is simple: ask them for money before they can ask you. You will either find they'll brainstorm to resolve the problem or that you will hear from them much less. Therein lies your answer. Some advice my doctor, who is also my parents' doctor, gave me. When are you going to worry about you? Who is worrying about you? Financial abuse is a real thing and you need to break this cycle. Suggest they go to a financial advisor. Don't enable them to keep making bad choices, and don't give them money directly. If you have extra, pay who they owe directly, but honestly it's not your fault and you can only help some people for so long before you just have to step away. I completely understand this. First-generation American, and now that I am 21 and my folks moved back to their home country, I've sent over thousands of dollars and they don't even know that I've had times where I didn't eat. I could either have gas to get to work or 1 day's worth of food. In this case I just wish they didn't move back because they were doing pretty well here. My mother was this way. She convinced me to move back and to save money, and it all eventually went to her and running the house. It was so hard to get out after she felt entitled to my earnings. Be stern, say number, and don't let them guilt trip you. They have gotten this far, they can keep going. Harsh, but you're not responsible for their lack of money or long-term planning. My stepdad is the same when it comes to financial intelligence. Obviously they don't manage their money well and they dug their own hole. My stepdad had a bad habit of accepting any job no matter how bad the boss was screwing him over with his paycheck, and then he would pay way too much for things. Example, my husband bought a move-in ready mobile home for ourselves for $4,000. Meanwhile his dad bought one for the same price that he practically had to gut out and rebuild. He brought it on himself. I know it sucks, but you have to learn to tell the number. My SO's dad is like this, always calls asking for a loan that he knows he will never get back. I have always supported him in whatever decision he's made on whether to do it or not, but I can see the emotional and financial toll it has taken on him. Recently his dad called saying that he's losing his house because he hasn't paid the property taxes in several years, and my SO just isn't in a place to be able to help him with the large sum of money his dad is asking for, and told him no for the first time. I can see that it hurts him to think of his dad in that position, but I can also see his relief that he's not stretching his finances to the wire and having to figure out what to do about his own necessities. At some point you will have to just tell them you don't have the money to give and that they will need to sort it out themselves. It will be difficult, but I think you will find yourself relieved that you won't have to scramble to cover everything you need after stretching yourself too thin. Just so you know, though, we're all certainly glad you exist, as once you can do what you want to do with your money and save for your own future, I think you might be too. You're an adult now. Learn to say, no, I have to pay my own bills. This is real life. Much like the Giving Tree story, takers will take until there is only a stump of you left. No is a complete answer. It's not your job to fund their life. The best thing you can do is get them to see a financial counselor that can teach them to budget and live within their means. Your parents are selfish and they do not have good budget habits. Their offspring are not to blame. Not are they responsible for managing their parents' well-established mismanaged lifestyle. People like your parents survive. It happens all the time. They are emotionally holding you hostage. I am really sorry for sounding like such a bitch. It's my honest response to people not being more responsible with their spending habits. Regardless of how they got to where they are, there are options and choices they could have made but didn't. I had to learn not to talk to my parents about money. I also strongly enforce this rule with my spouse. The moment my mum calculates how much money I made my expenses, she thinks anything left over is her money and would try to guilt trip me for all the time. Whenever she asked how much I made or if I made a raise, I would just say is that I make just enough. If I do give her money now, it's not out of guilt or from any pressure from her, it's BC I want to and it's a gift. I hope you're able to establish a healthier financial relationship with your parents, or else you'll find yourself broke and miserable. They don't sound poor, they sound financially irresponsible. Giving them nothing I don't know about that, but only give them as much as you can spare, which may be next to nothing, and that's fine. They're adults. Like addicts, you have to set and hold boundaries so they don't bring you down. You don't have to cut them off, but you have to take care of yourself first and foremost. Practice saying no without explanation. With your parents it's the hardest, but practice it. I've read a lot of comments of folks urging you to say number. This is good advice, but also, I haven't seen anyone else reiterate what feels like the more urgent part of the post. It is good that you exist. You were born into a hard situation, but it is good that you were born. Make a budget that takes care of you first, including savings, and be realistic about it. Whatever is left over is what you can send to your parents. No more than that. If that number is 0, then so be it. Don't let them guilt you into poverty. Just because they made that particular bed doesn't mean you have to lie on it with them. I know this is extremely difficult to do, but please tell them that they can't keep doing this. You are just starting life in the real world. You need to get your own platform to stand on. When you're stable, you can help them financially. If they are really struggling, they can sell their house and move in with you until they are back on their feet. Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing for more videos.